Hey, welcome everybody. It is Tuesday. No, Tuesday. Tuesday night. Right, Louis? Tuesday?
Yes.
Yeah, Tuesday. Gotta make sure. When you're at home 7 days a week working and doing everything from home,
You forget.
my wife asked me, you really lose track of days? I really do. Unless there's something on TV that anyway, welcome. This is In the Batter's Box, the NBS Sports Baseball Show. I'm your host, Ralph Garcia, along with the guys from the Enhanced Sports Show, Saturday, 4 to 6 p.m. He is the host of that show. Co-host of In the Batter's Box, our good friend, Mr. Louis Tidor. Louis,
Ralph,
how about them damn Yankees?
I'm not too thrilled about it right now, but hey, it's early in the season. I mean, a three-game losing streak at this point in the season, it's not a big deal. If it was into late September, yeah. So they're just a little bit of funk right now. They'll be fine.
I'm curious to pry in your brain about that later. Of course, co-host, my partner and good friend, Mr. John Doucette. John.
Ralph, as always, good to be with you.
All right. John, are you under the weather?
No.
Good. Because the weather's about to get nice. I hate for you to be under it. That would suck.
Well, that would be a first up here. It's been a rough spring, no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, down here, of course, we 10 people dead in the state of Tennessee where I live.
Yeah. Right.
West Tennessee. Communities underwater. I mean, just homes everywhere. I've been here for 4 decades, but you just never, John, you know about bitter colds and snow, and blizzards, right, Louis? But that doesn't mean it gets easier, right? No. Especially when you have those. So prayers from all of us at NGSC Sports, myself to my home state of Tennessee, all the people out there and the recovery that's going on. The website, ngscsports.com, where you catch all of your current content. Bradley Walker is in the press box currently. He is covering the Threshers. Clearwater Threshers. Clearwater Threshers. I believe they're a single affiliate of the Philadelphia Phillies in minor league baseball. And so, enjoy yourself, Brad. He did give us a look ahead at the Clearwater Threshers on the site right now. Also takes a look at USF football, a new theme, 4th and inches. College football, though just finished, is right around the corner. All that and more on gscsports.com, where we never stop before we start. A double congratulations. Listen, I am a heavy. I'm Tennessee volunteer. I love my Lady Vols basketball, but John, a question was asked in the sports world recently, and I think the answer is kind of simple. Is Gino Auriemma, at least in our time, is Gino Auriemma the most accomplished coach in sports?
In women's basketball, yes. I'm not sure all sport, but in women's basketball, yes.
Yeah. People were putting up different arguments. Congratulations. And I don't like to say this because my religion says I'm not supposed to do this, at least my sports religion. But congratulations to Gino Auriemma and the UConn Huskies women's basketball team. Listen, he started this in 1996. It's 2025, in case you're not paying attention, folks. And Gino Auriemma, 12 years later, still finds a way to continue to recruit. And he's got national championship number 12. Congratulations to the University of Florida in the great game of the men's national championship game as they capture their 3rd men's basketball national championship. By the way, that's the intro. I usually put that up early, You know how I've been lately. Every once in a while, it just gets away from me and I forget. John, I'm going to start. I'm going to get ready to share the show. And I need a few minutes to do that. And you gave me a little something for us to talk about. But I dug up, I didn't even tell you guys. You might be proud of me, John. I dug up some more stuff. So John gave us, John, of course, up there in Boston Red Sox Nation. John's going to talk about the Red Sox signing their youth. And here comes the extra surprise on that. The Red Sox also have an 8-part docuseries on Netflix. I started reading about that. And I'll get to that part in a moment that really caught me. Because first thing you think of, right? Oh, Red Sox docuseries. What are they talking about? Must be talking about that 1986 World Cup. Must be. Not necessarily. John knows about it too. We'll get into that. But first, John, as I'm sharing the show, the Red Sox are signing their youth, huh?
Well, they've signed 2 of them. Garrett Crochet got signed to an extension last week of $170 million. And then later on in the week, it was Christian Campbell that got signed to an 8-year, $60 million deal, which could become $96 million based on a couple of option years that are available in this contract. And it started last year when the Red Sox signed Brian Bayo and Cedar Raphael as well. As the Red Sox are, I think, beginning to identify what the core of this team is going to be going forward, and the group that they're really going to try and put together to win a championship with. And I think that the farm system has built itself up and has built themselves up in a way that they can do this and take away really what's going to be the first year of agent eligibility for at least 4 of these players. And I do think that there'll be a few more that will eventually get signed as well, as they really do begin to put this all together and to become a potential force in the American League in general.
Hey, Louis, I remember a time you heard those numbers John was throwing around there.
Yes.
The signing of the youths, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I remember a time when we were kids, Major League Baseball players would be love to get these contracts these youth are getting today, huh?
Sure.
I mean, they sound like bargain basement deals.
No, it's not. But again, you're taking away the first opportunity for free agency for all of these players. And that does become an interesting trick to be able to convince these young players that losing that first time going through that process is a good idea.
And Louis, I know what a big Red Sox fan you are. I mean, I know that. Yeah, you sit on the edge of the seat for Red Sox baseball. But as we're talking Red Sox baseball, I was still sharing this, but I ran up on this. And again, this is on the MLB website. It's not like we're there, right? So we have to get the information from somewhere. And I saw this right here. It says a Netflix 8-part docuseries on Red Sox now streaming. So obviously, like I said a few minutes ago, John, the first thing I'm thinking, Louis wouldn't blame us for thinking they're going to talk about one of or the championship seasons. I mean, I even thought right away as I saw it, and I only saw it 10 minutes ago, I was thinking they'll probably talk about the lead up, the drought. Yeah, the drought to the World Series, right? You would think. And then I said, before I start the show, I better read some of it so I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So this comes from MLB.com from Ian Brown. It says, in the clubhouse, a year with the Red Sox, Netflix pulls back the curtain on what a 162-game baseball season is like. So that caught my attention right away, John, right? Because it's like, okay, wait a minute. They're taking a turn here. The docuseries contains 8 parts, and they're available to stream now. And this is the part that got me. And John, I know you know, and take us through this. This, Louis, it says, this isn't so much about a team that ultimately finished 81 and 81. It's more about what a Major League Baseball team and its individual players deal with on and off the field. they talk about, John, that Netflix takes you inside the Red Sox team strategy meetings, casual and serious conversations in the dugout, in the homes of some of the players. And I started to think, as we watch sports all of our lifetime, we just hear the stories about the players, right? I just thought that I thought this was interesting, John, an inside look of what life is like, not just on the baseball field.
Yeah, what apparently Netflix did was they followed the Red Sox around all of last year, from opening day, which would have been in Seattle for them, all the way to the end of last regular season, which I believe was a home series with Baltimore, and all the potential trials and tribulations that all of these players as individuals go through to be able to play a 162 game season, and in some cases survive it. As you say, it goes through the strategy meetings that took place, and the decisions that were made and again, the Red Sox were a playoff contender for a while last year until you got to really the beginning of the second half of the year when things started to kind of fall apart for them. But it does take the viewers through what turns out to be a very interesting behind the scenes look at really what takes place during a 162 game season.
I started reading some of it, and I really thought it was an interesting take because, again, we Louis, we know so much. We pay attention to stats. We look at the games, but remember, these are guys just like us who have a job, and they just live different lives. And you wonder, and I've always wondered, who hasn't wondered, Louis? Gee, I wonder what, like in your case, Louis, right? We talk about the Yankees. I wonder what Aaron Judge does when he finally leaves the park. Does he have a routine? Does he go straight home? And what does he do on the days off? And it's pretty cool. I don't want to see one on the Yankees, though, Louis.
I know.
I mean, I give the Red Sox credit for providing this kind of access. I mean, I'm sure that when they got together for spring training last year, or even before spring training began, when this idea was presented to them from Netflix, that I'm sure that there were some players that probably didn't want to have this kind of access provided through this documentary. But apparently they would eventually all agree on it. And as I say, when opening day took place in Seattle, it began. It is very interesting. It's fascinating to understand what these players go through on a daily basis to not only play the game, but to also maintain some sort of a life while they're doing it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool, Louis. You get to see, you get to see the life of a player. Just something we don't really get to see.
And it's the good and the bad too. I mean, it's not a document series, from what I understand. It's just all about the good part of it. I mean, there's the bad part that goes along with it, and so you get to see both sides of it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking forward to. It's a series now that I want to watch because it's not all just hunky dory.
Right.
They're gonna show real life stuff. They're gonna show real life stuff, and maybe Louis, maybe one or two players, maybe one or two Red Sox players will tell us.
I was thinking maybe they'll show the '86 collapse.
No, it has nothing to do with anything of the past. It's all about last season. It's all about what they did last season.
Okay. That's what I was saying in the opening, Louis. What is so cool about this story? Because, like I said, if I told you, if we were just having a conversation privately, Louis, and I said, "Hey, Louis, did you see the 8-part docuseries on the Red Sox?" If you ask me that, I'm thinking, okay, well, they must have put together something on and they've done it before, but somebody else, and they're gonna talk about the championships but no, Louis, it's on my last year, 81 and 81. It's not about what I thought. It's about life as a baseball player and what they do behind the scenes, like they said, in the offices, the executive offices, and dugout,
casual games, after games.
There's a video there. There's a video there on MLB.com. I didn't even see who it was. I didn't even see the details. But one of the players, a scene from the docuseries of one of the players under the hood of a truck, probably under the hood of his truck, I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool to.
Well, you're humanizing these players is what you're doing, which I think is what Netflix was attempting to put out there with this document, this docuseries, was to give the baseball fan and really the general public the idea that they're normal human beings, even though they're making a ton of money playing a kids game.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be really cool. I found something else, John. Look, we talk about the game of baseball, how the game of baseball has changed from our childhood, how it has evolved, and of course we talk about the pitfalls of baseball looking like it's trying to become a game, trying so hard to become a game of the long ball. Long ball, long ball, all the excitement of long ball. How much have we talked about small ball? What happened to small ball? What happened to, managers strategizing? It's like they just let the kids go out there and just see who can hit it the furthest. Well,
yeah,
it is exciting. I mean, Louis, your team opened up the weekend like hitting solar bombs everywhere. How could you not? Right? How could you not enjoy it? How could you not enjoy an opening weekend like that? Right? But what is the other thing, John? The other aspect of baseball that makes it just so beautiful? A guy on the rubber who does things so special that we can't wait to see him pitch. And I got an article right here written by Mike Petriello. He calls it 7 pitches, 8, explaining Skenes' expanding arsenal. His subtitle says, John, Pirates Phenon is almost as tough on pitch classifiers as he is on hitters.
Well, let's face it, we all know what Paul Skenes can do because we've been seeing it since his last year of college at LSU. So, I mean, he's redefining basically everything, and he's becoming must-see TV in Pittsburgh, no question about it. Not only is he putting people in the seats, but he's putting people in front of television sets to watch him pitch. So, and again, that's what you want if you're Major League Baseball. You want somebody to go out there and potentially dominate every 5th day, and that's what he's doing. And it certainly is creating the kind of interest not only within the Pirates fan base, but in the entire Major League Baseball fan base. That really is something that they need to, frankly, put out there more. I mean, Paul Skenes needs to be a guy that Major League Baseball needs to start doing some promoting with.
Right. Good point. And I brought up the home runs for a couple of reasons, leading into what you just said, John. So everybody gets excited about the long ball, right? Well, for the naysayers and for those of us who say, okay, the long ball is nice. Can we get back to some of the basics? Nice to have a guy up on the hill where you can say, well, that guy, you're not going to do that to that guy today. You're going to have to wait till tomorrow's pitcher to do that. Now, this was interesting. So the Mike Petriello says, less than a year into his Major League Baseball career, Paul Skenes might already be the best pitcher in baseball. I read that and said, oh, really? Well, what do you mean? He said, that's not hyperbole. He's one of 79 pitchers to throw at least 140 innings since his May 11, 2024 debut. And among them, he's first in ERA, second in strikeout rate, and tied for third in average against. Wow.
Well, let's face it. I mean, he dominated hitters at the college level, and he's already starting to dominate hitters at the major league level. And that's why the Pirates really couldn't keep him at the minor league level longer than they did. Again, they were trying to do it to get the extra year through salary arbitration. But they knew that they were going to have to bring him up as quickly as they could, and they did. And once they did, their ticket sales just basically went through the roof because he was now a part of their rotation. And like I say, he became must see.
Yeah, I mean, damn, Louis, just to have that ability, night in and night out. Again, I told you we're lucky to see. We've seen some great players, Louis.
Oh, we sure have. And with the future, with the stars of the future to come, we could see more of it.
And I think the best part about this is the fact that not only is Paul Skenes putting people in the seats at home, but he's putting people in the seats on the road too.
It says here, I mean, because remember, he titled it 7 pitches, question mark, 8, question mark. So he asked what kind of pitcher pulls or what kind of pitches does Paul Skenes throws. So he goes into these pitches. And, obviously when you're talking about a pitcher, at least the way we grew up, I need 3 pitches from you, right? And I need a fastball. I need a curveball. What, John? I need a sinker, right?
No, I need a changeup.
Need a what?
Need a changeup.
Oh, changeup. That's the one. That's the one I was thinking of. The fastball, curveball, changeup. Right. Because I remember playing all the games, the video games, and that's all I cared about. Just I had the guy that gave me those 3 pitches. This guy's talking about 7 or 8, right? He talks about his 4-seam fastball that he uses 39% of the time. Nope, I can't talk to you right now. I cannot talk to you right now. He talks about his splitter. I don't know where this comes from, a.k.a. the splinker. He uses it 35% of the time with a top speed of 94 miles an hour. He's got the changeup. He only uses it 9% of the time at top speed at 88 miles an hour. He's got a sweeper. Call it a sweeper.
Another version of a curve, which is another version of a slider.
Wow. 5% of the time, top speed 85 miles an hour. The slider, same. The sinker, the curveball. I like the way he threw this in there. Not used yet. The cutter.
Not used yet.
He's just got this freaking arsenal, man. Arsenal.
Well, let's face it. He's had some very good pitching coaches, particularly at the college level, that really did help him to learn how to create an arsenal that was going to make him very difficult to deal with. And again, because he's a power pitcher to begin with, he was going to have to find different ways to get people out, and that's what he's done. And his ability to be able to throw pitches at different angles and to change eye angles of hitters, I think has really helped him to become the dominating young arm that he has already become.
Yeah. Listen, and you had said it about the excitement in the Pirates organization. I've always had this running joke my whole life. I hate every sports team in Pittsburgh. I don't care if they're pro, college, high school, little league, Girl Scouts. It just, I don't know. I think it has to do with the Pittsburgh Steelers of the 70s. It had to come. But that aside, listen, the Pittsburgh Pirates have suffered for a long time. I mean, a long time. Willie Stargell and Roberto Clemente and others are just John Matlack. Remember John Matlack, man? What do I like?
Yeah.
I like John Matlack. But anyway, guys like that are not coming through the door. They're not pitching and hitting the Pirates to playoffs these days. So it is nice to have that story in Pittsburgh. And it'll get better, John, if Skenes and the Pirates can improve and get themselves and make themselves a playoff team again.
Well, let's face it, the Pittsburgh Pirates, you have to build around him. You have the centerpiece, so now you got to build around him to make this really work. And I think that is the next challenge for this organization.
Yeah. And that's a big challenge. That's a big challenge. Yeah.
Well, it is because you're going to keep losing to be able to do it through the draft. That's the problem.
Yeah, I know. But here's the thing. How did I know you were going to say that? Yes, isn't the idea of the draft to build your organization through the draft.
Sure.
And that when you lose, and you lose consistently, it puts you in an even better position to pick better talent. Right, John? Am I going deep so far? But boy, we've talked about this before, how teams just like Tampa Bay has that knack of mastering that little knack, but most teams just can't. The Pirates have sucked long enough where you think they would have gotten some talent by now, right, John?
Yeah, but they haven't drafted very well, and that's part of their problem.
There it is. There it is. In other words, just because you're bad and you get good draft in position, especially in baseball, means nothing. If you don't
No,
draft,
you don't do it right. I mean, if you don't do it right, you're just putting your head up against the wall, and that's all you're doing.
yeah,
I think what the Red Sox have done, for instance, is pretty much the business model that the Baltimore Orioles used to reclassify themselves from being a nothing to a something. And I think that's what the Red Sox have done over the past 3-4 years. And even that, I mean, that they've been criticized royally up here for the fact that their lack of competitive nature was something that was not sitting well with the fan base. But in reality, it allowed them to draft, put them in good positions. They've made good decisions with these draft picks, and now they've got a farm system that's pretty good. It allowed them to make the Garrett Crochet deal before the season began, which I think has turned out to be a very, very good deal for them. And now they've signed him to a healthy extension. So the Red Sox have put themselves in good position to be something, but to be able to do that, unfortunately, you've got to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Louis, you get your chance. Louis started talking. I don't get excited about Louis talking Yankee baseball, but it's baseball, so we have to talk Yankee baseball. But what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about the MLB standings. Why? And Louis, I'm going to let you go first. And Louis, I remember that first weekend when the Yankees, like I said, they brought out the torpedo bats, and we found that they worked very well for the Yankee line. But you said something. You said something before the show started. I'm looking at the standings, guys. I'm going to admit it to you. A lot of personal stuff. Very busy at work. Haven't had a chance to really delve into the standings. I just opened them up before the show. And when you open up the Major League Baseball standings, the first thing that pops up is the AL East. And I said, wait a minute, what's going on over here? 6-5, 6-5, 6-5, 5-6-4 and 5. So you said you weren't happy. Now I understand. Because didn't they win the first? Wasn't that a sweep that first weekend? What the hell has happened since?
Yeah, well, I guess torpedo bats have misfired a few shots, as we can say, and Orioles have seen it catch on to the Yankee style. Usually, torpedo bats have caught up. I mean, we weren't gonna go 162-0. I mean, let's forget that, because that was just being crazy. But more and more are going to use the torpedo bats, and there's going to be more of these type of scores and games like that. So it's going to be it's something you're always going to have to get accustomed to. Some days you're going to hit 5-6 home runs. Some days you're going to hit maybe just one. It just depends on how fast you can hit that ball with your Wonder Bat.
I gotta say, Louis, I'm pretty happy to open up the standings. See the Yankees at 6-5, only because after a 3-0 start with 40 home runs in 3 games, I was like, well, these guys are gonna. So right. 3-0, they're 3-5 since. But mathematically, they have the Red Sox sitting up top at 6-5. What's going on in Beantown, John?
Well, they just finished sweeping the Cardinals over the weekend, which was a really good thing, and they bashed out a lot of runs, not home runs necessarily, but a lot of doubles and a lot of extra base hits to take that doubleheader on Sunday. It's a Red Sox team that's trying to be better at home. Last year, they were under 500 team at home, and they really believe that they need to be an above 500 team at home if they're going to be anything this year. So they've gotten off to a pretty good start doing that. And like I say, they survived that first 7-game road trip, and now they've got a chance to take advantage of being at home, and hopefully they will, to create the thinking that this is a team that you're going to have to pay attention to in the rearview mirror if you're the Yankees or anybody else in the East.
And this just in, the Baltimore Orioles do not suck, but
Yes.
they're not playing that great of baseball right now either. It's the beginning of the season, so
Yeah.
like
It was
Louis, yeah, you said it earlier, Louis. It's early in the season. You don't really pay attention much to what's going on. One thing I do,
No.
I was wondering about. Let me say this the right way. It was really exciting to see the end of the season. Many things about the end of last season were so exciting, and
Yeah.
we talked a lot about here on this show the Detroit Tigers and the Kansas City Royals, and the run they made last year, the surprise run that they made last year. Both these teams played good baseball. John, I turn around, I scroll down past the AL East to the AL Central, and I see that the Detroit Tigers sit atop at 7-4, and who's right behind them, even though they're 5-5, is the Kansas City Royals.
Well, let's face it, the Tiger run last year was more surprising than the Royals run just because of when it took place for the Tigers. It was the middle of August when they turned around and eventually played as well as they did over the final, 6, 7 weeks of the season to make the playoffs. But those two teams are good young ball clubs that I think have found their footing. And in a division that is still, I think, basically wide open, they have, at least at the moment, kind of taken a stranglehold on that division a little bit. But still, I wouldn't count the Guardians out. And I think the Minnesota Twins are still going to be a bit of a factor here, too. So you're looking at a division that could be a 4-team race when you start thinking about the overall playoff picture in the American League. There are going to be potentially a couple of good teams that don't make it.
And good for the Detroit Tigers in the sense of what you're saying, being a 4-team race, getting off to such a good start. All right, Louis, one team we don't have to worry about in the Central is the Chicago White Sox.
Of course. Could be another long season Chi-Town, won't it?
Yeah, I wonder how many they're going to lose this year. They're 2-8 right now. I don't know, kind of better off than I thought.
Yeah. Well, you can't do much worse than last year. I was going to do that way.
That's true. You can't. That's a good point. They can't do much worse.
If you do, you're in real trouble.
I truly expected them to lose the first 10 games of the season. Hey,
Yeah.
They won 2. I was almost right.
They won was against the Angels.
Yeah,
2 whole games already. Wow.
Minnesota 3-7. They're off to a rough start. They're having a hard time.
Well, the AL Central was a disaster.
When having a hard time scoring runs.
No, they're not scoring, and I think until they do start scoring runs, I think it's going to be a bit of an issue for this team. They do have some pretty good starting pitching and a pretty good bullpen, but unfortunately, if you can't score any runs, it doesn't matter.
And the Minnesota Twins are not going to get anywhere this season if they don't score runs.
Right.
Okay, that's just something, they just don't have enough of a staff to hold the rest of Major League Baseball back, scoring at the pace that they are right now. That's just not going to work. Scroll down and I look at the American League West. The leaders are the Texas Rangers at 8-3. Right behind them, the Los Angeles Angels. Well, I haven't paid attention. Houston Astros at 4-6. The A's at 4-7. Mariners at 4-7. Hey, John, any word on how the A's are doing at the park?
Still having the same problem they had in Oakland. They're just not putting people in the seats in Sacramento, and people in Sacramento are complaining about the fact that the team is not reflecting where they're playing with any sort of logo on their uniform or whatever to identify the fact that they're in Sacramento. It still looks like it's the Oakland A's, but they're just in Sacramento.
How about you show up to the park and do everything you can to pack the ballpark to show the team that they have the support and maybe force their hand to do something, but hell, if you don't show up, they might as well be the Oakland A's without a patch. I mean, I didn't know.
Look, I think the fan base out there is really unhappy with the owner, John Fisher. I think they believe that he's a pretty slimy individual. They may be correct, who knows? But I do think that their disdain over the owner is I think, a large reason why they're staying away from the ballpark to see this team play.
Yes.
it just seems like it's the same. How do you say? Bug, the same. Like Tampa Bay, like in Florida, Miami, Oakland. It's like certain
At
cities.
least in Tampa Bay and at least in Florida, there's a pretty good relationship between the fan base and the owner and the organization. In Oakland, that is certainly not the case. There is no
Yeah,
relationship between the fan base and the owner, and I think that's leading to the problems that they have and will continue to have until that team ends up in Vegas.
yeah, that's a complete disconnect there. Absolutely, no
Yes.
question. American League West, John, the Rangers are up top right now, and the Angels are playing good baseball. They're scoring runs.
Well, I think for the Texas Rangers, the fact that you have Nathan Eovaldi and hopefully a healthy Jacob deGrom in your rotation, that certainly does help. Um, and we'll see what deGrom can actually do for this team going forward, whether he can make 30 starts and last the entire year. I think that's certainly something that can be questioned, but that's a pretty good young ball club. There's no question about it. And I think that if the pitching can hold up, that's a team that certainly will be seriously involved in the playoff mix as well.
It's a pretty good ball club, Louis, but you know what would and listen,
Yes.
I remember the trade that sent deGrom away, and that broke my sports heart. One of those moments where you would just put your head down, like, oh wow, I almost forgot about that boy, and that he's still in Texas. And it's a damn shame, Louis, because listen to what John said. If the Texas Rangers knew, and Jacob deGrom knew, that he could go an entire season healthy, what a difference that would make for the Texas Rangers.
You're right.
John, it would make the world of difference, John, for the Rangers.
It
This
takes
was-
from being a potential second division ball club to a team that's right seriously in the mix. And I think that's what the Rangers are banking on, that he can stay healthy, make 30 starts, and keep them in the mix.
And then the American League. We just did the American League, Rob. In the National League, the Philadelphia Phillies have a half-game lead over my New York Mets. The Miami Marlins sit at 500, 5-5. The Nationals are 4-6. What in the hell is happening to the Atlanta Braves? Did I miss?
Well, that's the story, the Atlanta Braves.
Well,
And
yeah,
they-
It's awful.
they're not playing very well. There's been some talk that the Braves may be interested in changing their manager and looking at the college level to potentially do it. And the first person that they're thinking about is the guy at Tennessee, who is the defending national champion from a year ago and has a team that could, again, make it back to Omaha and take another shot at it. I do find what's interesting about this story is last weekend Tennessee was at home to play Texas A&M, and they lost that series. And you do wonder if the team was distracted by all the news going around of the possibility that their coach may not be around much longer. If the Braves continue to lose, I do think that they're going to make an interesting push toward this guy. And you do wonder what that would do to this baseball team if, in fact, they lose their coach at some point before either the SEC tournament begins or anything else begins, because that's a very good college baseball team that's been ranked number 1 in the country. They're not ranked number 1 in the country this week. They're ranked number 5, and it's based on that loss at home to Texas A&M that they lost spots in the ranking. So you do wonder if this ball club is mature enough to be able to handle the distraction of the possibility of their coach leaving.
And that's an interesting story in itself. And yeah, let's see how that develops. I would think it would cause a distraction amongst the kids. The Major League Baseball players are used to stuff like that, but yeah, I would think that would cause a distraction. I wonder how much it did. My New York Mets, listen.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Not going to complain, okay? We've got offense, we've got defense, we've got pitching. And remember, now, first and foremost, this all comes together. You know, you get Juan Soto, and then the key of it all for me was you had to bring Pete Alonso back. You had to bring Pete Alonso back. And these guys, it's early in the season, so they haven't meshed yet. This unit hasn't formed that that cohesiveness. But a 7-3 start, John. I like what the Mets are looking like early.
Well, again, I mean, at the moment, it's only a 2-team division. It's just the Phillies, with everybody else trying to figure out who they are. And again, the Braves being as talented as they are, and there's talent on that team, no question. But for them to be in last place and struggling the way they are, certainly allows the Phillies to create some space that they may be able to take advantage of.
Right. And we know history is not kind in all sports. History is not kind to teams that have drastic starts. Usually a drastic start is something you just never really come out.
And with the Braves, I think the most important part to this is because there's talent on that team, you're dealing with an organization that's not going to give this season up. And so the idea of them going out and trying to find a manager that's going to put some life back into this 25-man roster, I think is something that they're thinking about seriously. And like I say, if they continue to be in last place, we get to the 1st of May, and this team is still in last place, then I do think something drastic is going to happen that's going to affect not only the Braves, but whoever else is involved here.
Something you wouldn't have thought of, Louis. You wouldn't have thought of the Braves, Louis, as a last place team, huh?
Now 1-8, I wouldn't expect this at all. I mean, this is not the Braves that I know.
I mean, that was a bad West Coast trip that they started the season on.
Man, it was really
a rough West Coast trip. There were some leads that they lost on that West Coast trip. The back end of their bullpen didn't come through for them. And unfortunately, it led to the rumors of them looking for a new manager already.
Yeah, I had my buddies on Facebook. Of course, I'm near Nashville, Tennessee. I originally started where my children live, near Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is huge Atlanta Brave country down there. And I got friends down there posting on Facebook over the weekend, John. They were giving me a bunch of entertainment, man. They were pissed. They were really mad posting stuff. I was like, well, and, so let's just hope the Braves got a lot of talent. So coming out of a 1-8 hole won't be a surprise if they get it done. But they're going to have to get it done because, like you said, and that was key, John, you can't finish May in last place, with this horrid record, because then at that point you already have to start making decisions and thinking, I don't know if we're going to make the postseason. What are we going to do?
But however, you have to go back to last year when the Mets started 0-6, and look where they ended up last year. So, I don't think it's time to hit the panic button, but they really have to start, getting the right together. The Braves, that is.
Yeah.
Well, when you start talking about going after a college coach to become your next manager, they already have started to push that panic button.
You're not sending a good message, a positive message through the organization, right? Yeah, it kind of is as if you're already
telling the manager, if you don't turn this around, you're not going to be here much longer.
Yeah, it's wow. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Now, Louis, I've always asked you, for years I've asked you this question. Who's the only team that could beat the Los Angeles Dodgers?
The Dodgers themselves.
Now, so like I said, when you open up the Major League Baseball standings, you see the American League East first. And the only way you're gonna see the National League West is to scroll down, baby. Scroll down. So I scroll down, I'm thinking, have the Dodgers lost? I think they lost. So I'm sure they lost. Now, one thing I'm sure of before I get to the bottom of the standings is the Dodgers are in first place. I know that. So I just want to see how everybody else is doing. So lo and behold, John, I scroll down to the bottom of the page of the standing, and I see the San Diego Padres sitting at 9-2 atop the National League West. So then the Dodgers must be in second place. No, that would belong to the San Francisco Giants at 8-2. And by the way, a San Francisco Giant team that put a former catcher in charge. I mean, we talked about when Buster Posey took over, right? And wondered, no offense to Buster Posey, but running the show. Guess it's working out not too bad so far, John.
Not too bad at all. He really did his homework during the off season, and he really did create a roster that I think fit the way that he believes the San Francisco Giants can be successful, not only in that division, but in that league. And so far, so good. I think that everybody's been very happy with the team that he's put together. I think everybody's very happy with the way that they're playing. And I think that Buster Posey deserves a lot of credit for having the kind of baseball IQ that was going to allow him to go from being a player to an executive in a very short period of time.
Yeah, because if you looked at some of the moves, you wonder and question, give him time, maybe. And I mean, so far, so good. The Dodgers find themselves at 9-3. So, Louis, how the hell did the Dodgers lose 3 games? Seriously, I don't.
Yeah, and they're starting at 7-0. Well, yeah, they come out this. That is kind of shocking. Yeah, I thought they'd be making 12-0 or 13 or whatever. But Padres have gotten their number, and the Giants are breathing on the next 2. So this looks to be a crowded division here, which I seem to like. The NL West looks to be the best division this year so far,
except the Colorado Rockies. John, I think these guys are just coming to the park to hang out in Colorado just because they get paid. Because I don't see a lot going on over there.
Well, Colorado and Arizona, I think, are the 2 teams that are going to be having a hard time dealing with the 3 that are in front of them that all appear to be at the moment to be pretty good. And look, give the Padres credit. I mean, that's a roster that's got tons of money associated with it, and it's a roster that I think still has underachieved, but yet there they are in first place in the West. Can they stay there all year? I think is certainly the question. But that's an interesting clubhouse that has had its good moments and its bad moments. Right now, they're having a good one. Let's see how long it lasts.
Yeah, let's see how long it lasts. Okay, so we finish Major League Baseball talk, and as we wind down the show, as we do every single week, we go to our version of This Week in College Baseball. This Week in College Baseball sees the Tennessee Volunteers no longer at the top. John mentioned earlier, a series against the Aggies of Texas A&M, kind of did them in. It also sees the Arkansas Razorbacks take over the top spot in D1 baseball for the first time this season after they swept Missouri to improve to 30-3, 11-1 in conference play in the SEC.
First of all, 30 wins at what is the halfway point of the college baseball season is excessively impressive. We're talking about a team that could have 45, maybe 50 wins by the time you get to
Total
Monday and the field of 64 being put out there. That team can pitch. That team can hit. There's not much that team can do. But the fact that they could have 50 wins before the NCAA tournament even gets started is it's off the charts.
They're the number one in the RPI as well.
Right. And by the way, the RPI is really now what you pay attention to. Now that you get to the second half of the season, the RPI is really the thing you start paying attention to.
Here's what makes us good partners.
The RPI.
The 2 points I was going to bring up were Arkansas. One, the 30 wins so early. Not the 30 wins is that it's so soon, so soon that they have 30 wins. And what the hell was it you brought up there? See, I lost my freaking train of thought there.
The RPI. The number one on the RPI.
RPI, which now becomes so important.
The RPI is really what creates the field of 64.
In the RPI, even though you have the RPI at the beginning of the season, the RPI really doesn't mean anything. Nobody's really paying attention to the RPI right then because everybody's, going through their series. Now is when it starts to tell. Now, and Arkansas gets to top 5. The Texas Longhorns tied also with the best.
Yeah, they also swept their series last weekend too, and are looking to start playing some pretty good baseball themselves.
And speaking of 30 wins, the LSU Tigers and the Clemson Tigers.
Well, Clemson, I'll tell you what, in the ACC, boy, it's been Clemson and Florida State. Those have been the two teams that basically have been beating up on people. Louisville is starting to play pretty well themselves, but really it's Clemson and Florida State that really have been beating up on basically everybody they played in the ACC. And then, by the way, Florida State has a big midweek game this week with South Florida. Now, South Florida, I think, is becoming also a very interesting team. Their RPI is 37. They took a series last weekend in the American Atlantic over Memphis. And that game against Florida State, which I think is tomorrow night, becomes very important for South Florida because it's the kind of game that if you can win it, it's going to boost your RPI significantly and give you a better opportunity to make the tournament going forward. That's a very important non-conference game.
We had some sinkers too.
Well, yeah, there's always going to be the sink, and then
Florida State dropping 5 spots to 9, Alabama down 4 to 12, and Oklahoma and Southern Miss have had some miserable weeks, man. They dropped 9 to 19 Oklahoma, and Southern Miss from 10 to 23. And by the way,
what's interesting about that is when you start talking about teams that get opportunities for regional hosting, those kind of drops are going to affect your possibility of being able to host a regional.
And our boys at Dallas Baptist had a rough week and finally fall out of the top 25 ranking.
And again, for a mid-major like Dallas Baptist, staying in the top 25 is a really important thing to keep. So they've got to find their way to get back into that top 25 to give themselves at least a decent opportunity to advance once the tournament begins.
Yeah, it's also obviously helped them in recruiting.
Yes.
Very important to keep those recruits coming. You got to have that ranking. And you start building what Dallas Baptist has built over the last several years. You lose just one little slither of momentum there, John, for that little school, and that could cost them a lot.
Well, let's face it, the state that they're in, and think of all the colleges that they have to deal with in that state. And so you need to be a top 25 baseball team if you want to create attention for yourself. And so getting back into that top 25 is going to be very important for them to do. And getting into the tournament also becomes very important for them to do as well, because it's the kind of free promoting that really does help you to keep a good baseball team on the field.
Yeah. so we continue to pay attention to the goings on in college baseball. Ran into a story just before the show. I was telling the guy, it's really interesting. Come from USA Today, Josh Peter. He titles it, two college baseball teams had lost 141 games in a row combined.
Wow.
And then they met on the baseball field.
In the battle losers.
So Lehman College and Yeshiva University
These must
split.
be NAIA schools.
And this is pretty cool. See, I didn't know this. They played a doubleheader, and they split the doubleheader to end it. John, is that cool? I like that smile, John. I thought it was a single game, and one of them won, and the other one's losing streak continued. They actually split the doubleheader. Tell me that. Hey, help me a minute, John. I'm not trying to say anything. Louis, I'm not trying to insinuate anything, but you think they talked before the game and said, guys?
I would hope not, because that could cause all sorts of trouble. But it looks like you're talking about two NAIA schools.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeshiva is a modern Orthodox Jewish school in New York.
Wow, New York.
Yeah, it's in New York. They ended a 100-game losing streak by beating Lehman, located in, let's see. And then who is the other school? That was, that's Lehman College. We know about Lehman College. Yeshiva had last won on February 27, 2022. Holy crap.
I tell you what, you've got to really want to play the game of baseball if you're going to play for a school that's lost 100 games in a row.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at a picture of the ballpark, and they had some people in the damn seats, man. They had
That's
people.
even more impressive that they had people in the seats to watch this.
Wow, I'm
You know, what you need to do is look at their box score and see if they put an attendance number in the box score.
No, they don't do anything like that. But Justin Chamorro, who pitched a complete game for Lehman in the opener, said ending the losing streak was crucially important for the Lightning. I felt a tremendous release afterwards. It's what we needed for our morale. No kidding.
Yeah, really.
I mean, I would think, losing 100 games in a row would have an effect.
I would assume it's not something that they talked about on a regular basis, because you really don't want to do that.
In the second game, Yeshiva scored 3 runs in the first inning and never trailed. Lehman scored 2 runs in the third to pull within 3-2, but Yeshiva responded with 4 runs in the bottom of the inning. And I tell you, I thought it was pretty cool. I to sit in a ballpark, John, to watch a baseball game, and the purpose of watching that baseball game would be what? Teams have lost.
You're looking to see history is what you're doing.
Yeah, somebody got to win. Somebody got to win.
So you're looking to see history.
Something has to, yeah.
But they split a doubleheader, and they were able to both celebrate. So I thought it was a pretty cool.
It's nice to see that more than just parents and close friends showed up to watch this.
Yeah. Obviously, and it makes sense, right? That it had meaning. It's like a big game, but on the other side of the coin.
On the other side, right? It's a different kind of a big game.
A different kind of a big game, but hey,
right.
Cool, really cool story.
But like I say, for guys that are playing on these teams, you have to really want to play the game of baseball if you're going to play for schools that have those kind of losing streaks.
Imagine being a freshman in 2022 on this baseball team. You lost
entire season.
Lost the entire next season. You lost the entire next season.
Right.
That's embarrassing.
That's a perfect recipe. I'm getting the hell off this damn team and going
You would
somewhere.
think that that would be that recipe, yeah. And I do wonder how many of those kids on those rosters have
And
stayed
you know there was.
for 4 years.
There was some that failed.
Yeah, I'm sure there were some. And again, you got to give them credit for doing it.
Yeah. Louis, final thoughts.
I mean, it doesn't get any worse than that. 100 losses in a row. It's got to be the most embarrassing, team in sports history. I mean, losing all that. What's it going to take for you to win? And how do you want to play? How can you go on and play like that? Probably knowing you're going to lose. I mean, it's embarrassing to lose 100 games in a row. That's over 3 years. Ugh. Where's the?
Yeah, that's
pitiful.
That's very pitiful. John, final thoughts.
Well, the Toronto Blue Jays made the move this week. They did sign Vladimir Guerrero to the 14-year, $500 million contract that Vlad said at the end of training camp they weren't going to be able to take care of, but they did. So apparently they kept talking as the early stages of the season progressed, and it appears to be a contract that both parties seem to be happy about. Now the question becomes, how do the Blue Jays build around him to put themselves back in contention in that division? Because if you're going to give him that kind of a contract for that length and that amount of money, then obviously you've guaranteed to him that you're going to build a team around him that's going to contend. So now how do the Blue Jays do this?
That's right. That's right. Good point, John. My final thought, believe it or not, I didn't even have a final thought. I didn't have a final. I mean, I always come up with one, but I didn't have a concrete one. But I do now, and that's going back to the Atlanta Braves. This baseball team and the talent they have on this team is way too good to be 1-8. Now we know that this happens. I'm a Met fan. I obviously want to win the division and win the World Series. But I as a fan, I don't want a season where I start looking at the standings now every once in a while just to see how far the Braves have fallen. You got to be confident. Louis brought up a good point. Mets 0-6. They have a good season last year. The Braves are too talented too early to worry about it. But when you said that, John, about May and the end of May, you start to think it'd be a damn shame if a team this good wakes up on the morning of June 1st already thinking of next year.
And I don't think that'll happen with the Atlanta Braves. I think that's the point. I think that they will pull the trigger and they'll make a move long before that happens because, again, there's too much talent on that team, number one. Now, if the talent on that team has tuned out the manager, which might be what's going on here, then I think having to make a move, it does become the requirement. And that's why you're hearing the rumors about the Tennessee head coach possibly becoming that guy. The thing about college baseball is most college head coaches, regardless of how successful they may be, usually don't make the jump from coaching at the college level to becoming a major league manager. It's not like the NBA and the NFL where that happens
right
normally, that you go get college coaches to become coaches in those leagues. In baseball, that doesn't happen. And so I think if the Atlanta Braves are really convinced that the guy at Tennessee is ready and is capable of running a major league clubhouse, then I don't think it's going to be much longer before they pull the trigger.
And you put the icing on the cake on my final thought because you're correct. We should have no reason to worry about the Atlanta Braves being in that position on June 1st. That's why it was my final thought, because we know from the past what has happened to teams who started off so slowly, so bad. Somehow, like the Philadelphia 76ers in the NBA, they started off miserable, and people are wondering, wow, just give it a minute. It's the Sixers. They got three big guns over there. They never recovered. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen to the Braves, because that's what I mean. It would be a damn shame if on June 1st, they're already at least thinking of next year and making a move on the manager because that team's too good for that to happen. Thank you for joining us. This is In the Batter's Box, the NGSC Sports Weekly Baseball Show. I'm your host, Ralph Garcia, joined as always by John Doucette and the Yankee fan, Louis Denor. And I didn't say it, Louis. I was nice the whole show.
Yes.
I just want you to know.
I get it.
If we weren't on the air, I'd tell you exactly what I really said with my mouth closed. Thank you for joining us this evening, folks. I'll be back in 48 hours with United, Not Divided. On Common Ground, the NGSC Sports Political Show. And myself, Jordan Rhea, and our new co-host, Braden Hudson, will join us, and Louis will join us for the NBA show. I'm trying to get with the guys, Louis, because the season ends Sunday, and I really want to get a show in before the season ends. Thank you for joining us, folks. Have a great night.